Creating an Ovolo Plinth. The final exercise is the production of an apprentice's training piece. Training pieces allow the apprentice to demonstrate the skills that they have acquired during their training. The plinth at the base of a wall or column usually steps out to spread load more evenly onto the ground beneath, and often uses a decorative moulding to create a more aesthetic junction between the two planes. Here, an Ovolo moulding that returns on three sides of the block shall be produced. It finishes at one end with an internal miter. The other end has a masonry stop. This exercise is divided into two parts. Part A will include the constructional geometry of the project and include the creation of a template. Part B is the practical production of the piece known as banker work. Template for an Ovolo. The following tools are required for this exercise: several sheets of A4 or letter size paper, a piece of sheet metal, preferably zinc or an alternative transparent plastic sheet, a craft knife and a pair of scissors, a sharp pencil, an eraser, a fine point permanent black marker pen, fine wire wool, a metal file, masking tape, a rule, set squares, compasses, a scribe, metal tip dividers, and metal snips. Before commencing the banker work, it will be necessary to create a sectional template of an Ovolo moulding. It is helpful to first set out the geometry of the moulding on paper prior to committing the design to the production template. Ideally, this should be made from zinc, however other sheet metals are suitable, as is a sturdy transparent plastic sheet. The Ovolo is formed from one quadrant of a circle, and as can be seen from the drawing, the quadrant is bordered with two small flat fillets which extend at right angles, tangential to the arc. The fillets are emphasized by casting shadows created by the moulding. Secure a sheet of paper using a small piece of masking tape at each corner. For this exercise, the radius of the quadrant will be 45 mm or 1 3/4 inches. The width of the fillets will be 10 mm or half an inch. Draw a rectangle measuring 120 mm high by 90 mm wide, or 4 3/4 inches high by 3.5 inches wide. From the top right-hand corner of the square, measure 55 mm or 2 inches along the horizontal line. Mark this point. Measure and mark the same distance down the vertical line. Position a set square at these 2 points. Draw a faint line across the rectangle at both points. Set the compass to a radius of 45 mm or 1 3/4 inches. Place the point at the intersection of the two lines and draw an arc between them in the top right quadrant. Using a pencil, darken the first 10 mm or half an inch of the horizontal and perpendicular lines to complete the drawing. Tape down the metal or plastic to be used for the template. The paper drawing of the Ovolo section may now be positioned onto the zinc or plastic sheet. Again, secure this with masking tape. Using the sharp point of a scribe, pierce through the paper and into the zinc or plastic sheet at the following places: the outer and inner points of the fillets and the center point of the arc. The paper is now removed and the straight lines connected using a rule and scribe. Using the metal tip dividers, score the curved line of the arc. Repeat several times to emphasize the line. If necessary, the scribe may be used to emphasize the cut. Scribe the straight lines at least 4 or 5 times to deepen and emphasize the lines. Using a pen, mark the waist side of the line, which will eventually be removed. Using metal snips, from the waist side of the line, cut into the corners of the fillets and again at a midway point on the Ovolo. Do not cut completely to the line. Keep the cut slightly shy of the scribe line. It is now possible to remove the waist or offcut section by bending the pieces to and fro until they separate. The deeper the scribe marks, the easier the waist is to remove. The outline of the section is now complete. However, the cut metal edges will now be very sharp and pose a cutting risk, so must be made safe by smoothing with a file and wire wool. Place the template on the edge of the banker or table and begin to remove the burrs using a metal file. Once the metal burrs have been removed with a file, finish the smoothing process by rubbing the edges with wire wool. It is good practice at this stage to rub the face of the template with steel wool. This provides a better surface on which to write with a marker pen. Safely dispose of any sharp offcuts of sheet metal. Label this template as Section A using a permanent marker. A marker line represents the wall line of the stone. In simple terms, this means that the parts of the stone that would be visible if the stone was installed as part of a building. It is good workshop practice to put as much information as possible onto the face of the template. In a busy workshop or banker shop, there may be many similar projects underway at any given time. Additionally, the template and the masonry wall may well be completed by different masons. Clear labelling avoids confusion. When making the template from transparent plastic, the process is simply reversed. The plastic is laid over the original drawing, taped, and the lines traced through. The plastic template may be cut out using a craft knife or sharp scissors. The template is then labelled in the same way as previously described.